The world first saw them together under the blinding lights of the Venice Film Festival. Dakota Johnson had just finished the psychological thriller The Mirror House, while Sam Heughan was promoting Highland Veins, an action drama that had pushed his limits both physically and emotionally. They weren't supposed to meet that night, not officially. Different movies, different studios, different worlds. But fate, as it often does in Hollywood, found its way through a crowded gala and a spilled glass of champagne. "Sorry," Dakota said, laughing softly as the liquid splashed across Sam's cuff. Sam, ever the gentleman, smiled. "If that's the price to meet you, I'd say it's a fair trade." It was cliché, but charming, and something in her eyes said she didn't mind clichés that night. The photos of them talking under the Venetian lights went viral. A new Hollywood power couple. One headline read, 50 Shades meets Outlander, teased another. But for the two of them, the night wasn't about headlines, not yet. They talked until the music dimmed, about scripts and Scotland and how both of them, despite fame, secretly missed being anonymous. Dakota admitted she still got nervous before every interview. Sam confessed that he sometimes stayed up till 3 a.m., scrolling through comments, wondering if fans still liked him. It wasn't a spark, it was a quiet, mutual understanding. A few months later, the rumors had turned into whispers, and whispers into proof. They were spotted together in Edinburgh. A fan posted a blurry picture of them holding hands near a small coffee shop called the Willow Bean. The internet exploded. Agents panicked. PR teams drafted statements. But Sam and Dakota decided to say nothing. Silence, they agreed, was more romantic than confirmation. Their first real moment alone came in the Scottish Highlands. Sam had invited her to visit while he was filming an independent project. The house he rented was small, stone-built, overlooking a valley that turned gold at sunset. There, away from cameras, they could breathe. Dakota cooked pasta, Sam poured whiskey. They watched Roman Holiday on an old projector and laughed when the film jammed halfway through. He told her stories about growing up poor, about his mother's resilience, about the theater troupe that saved him from giving up. She listened, really listened, and said, "You always play men who fight for something. Maybe that's who you are." And he looked at her as if hearing that for the first time. By winter, they weren't just together, they were in love. Hollywood loves a beautiful couple, but it loves to destroy them even more. When Dakota and Sam made their first red carpet appearance together at the Golden Globes, the world took notice. The flashlights, the shouts, the chaos, and yet, in every photo, Sam's hand always found hers. They looked untouchable. Behind closed doors, though, things were fragile. Dakota was preparing for Lost Angels, a film she was also producing. It was her most personal project, about a woman trying to escape her father's shadow. Sam, meanwhile, was filming back-to-back seasons of Outlander, constantly away in Scotland or Prague. The time zones turned into walls. The phone calls turned into silences. "Are you okay?" he'd text. "I'm fine, just tired," she'd reply. But she wasn't fine. And he wasn't blind. One night, while visiting her in LA, Sam found her sitting on the balcony, cigarette glowing in the dark. "Talk to me," he said softly. She turned, eyes glassy. "You ever feel like you're performing even when you're off camera?" He didn't answer, because yes, that's exactly what he felt too. The first crack appeared quietly, not with shouting, not with betrayal, but with a single unopened message. Dakota had sent Sam a video from the Lost Angels set, a behind-the-scenes moment where she was laughing with her co-star, a young director named Julian Ward. It wasn't romantic, not even close. But when Sam saw the clip 2 days later, after filming 16 hours straight in the freezing rain, something inside him shifted. He didn't reply right away. By the time he did, "Looks great, proud of you," the warmth in his words was gone. And Dakota felt it instantly. It wasn't jealousy, it was exhaustion, the slow erosion of trust that distance can create, even between two people who love each other deeply. Weeks later, tabloids published the first rumor: Dakota Johnson growing close to director Julian Ward. Her publicist denied it, of course. But when Sam read the article, half asleep in a trailer in the Highlands, the words hit harder than he expected. He didn't call her that night. She didn't call him either. By spring, something unspoken had taken root between them, not anger, but distance. They were still together, but only in interviews, only in memory. It was a charity gala in London, the kind where champagne costs more than rent and smiles are as rehearsed as monologues. Sam arrived alone. Dakota was already there, radiant in silver silk, standing under a chandelier that looked like falling stars. When their eyes met, the cameras flashed. The world saw chemistry, only they knew it was tension. They exchanged polite words at first. Then the small talk turned sharp. "You didn't have to come," Dakota said through a frozen smile. "I promised I'd be here," he replied, his jaw tight. "You always keep your promises, except the ones that matter." It was cruel, but true. He looked away, inhaled, and whispered, "Maybe we're both performing again." That night, after the gala, they walked separately into the same hotel, two parallel lives under one roof. At 2:17 a.m., a door slammed. At 2:19 a.m., a heart broke quietly. No one heard them argue, because they didn't. There were no raised voices, no dramatic ultimatums. Just a final silence that felt heavier than words. For months, the world speculated, are they still together? Ideographic period, sources say Dakota and Sam are on a break. Close friends insist they're just focusing on work. They both denied nothing. Confirmed nothing. Sam buried himself in work, an action film in Iceland, where the wind could erase any thought of love. He hiked alone between takes, wrote journal entries he never sent. One night, he wrote, "I miss her laugh, not her, just her laugh." Maybe that's how you know it's over. Dakota, on the other hand, disappeared from social media. She started painting. Her therapist suggested it might help her reclaim color. But most of her canvases came out in muted tones, gray skies, empty roads, faceless portraits. Friends said she seemed calmer. But calm can be another word for numb. It wasn't another person. It wasn't fame. It wasn't betrayal. It was fear. Dakota had once told Sam that she feared losing herself inside someone else's story. That she'd spent years playing characters who needed saving, and she didn't want to live like one. Sam, despite all his strength, wanted to protect her, to be the hero again. But she didn't need one. And Sam, the man who'd built his life on being dependable, couldn't understand a love that didn't need him to fix it. When they finally met again, a year later, it wasn't on a red carpet or a movie set. It was at a quiet cafe in Paris. No photographers, no scripts, no rehearsed smiles. He ordered her favorite tea before she arrived. She smiled when she saw him. "Still remember," she said. "Always will," he replied. They talked, not as lovers, but as two people who'd finally stopped pretending. She told him she was producing again, directing even. He told her he'd bought a cabin in Scotland and was learning to live offline. When they stood to leave, she hesitated. "You know, Sam, I never stopped loving you." He smiled, that quiet, tired smile only honesty can bring. "I know. I didn't stop either. We just loved each other in different directions." They hugged, and for the first time in years, it didn't hurt. Outside, the world was still noisy, still bright, still hungry for headlines. But their story was no longer one of loss, it was one of release. Months later, a magazine published an article titled, "Finally Confirmed, The Real Reason Sam Heughan and Dakota Johnson Broke Up." It claimed to reveal exclusive sources, private drama, career conflicts. But none of it was real, because the truth was too simple for gossip. The real reason? They both chose themselves. In the end, Sam found peace in solitude, and Dakota found freedom in her art. They didn't end because of a secret, they ended because they grew, and growth, sometimes, means letting go. And somewhere in Scotland, when the mist rolls down the hills and the night grows quiet, Sam still smiles when he thinks of her, not with regret, but with gratitude. Because once, for a brief, beautiful moment, they were everything the world wanted them to be, and more than that, everything they needed to find themselves.